Peace and blessings, family. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Hotep. Ashe. Don't know what I'm going to, title this, how I'm going to title this video. It's just some things that I want to talk about. So I may be jumping around from topic to topic to topic. So that's one of the reasons why I don't know what title I'm going to give to this video. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I've been noticing as far as social media is concerned, as it pertains to people that do the type of commentary that I do, as it pertains to the plight of black people in this country and around the world. I'm not going to say it seems like we're getting stuck in a rut. And what I mean by that is sometimes it seems like, we're scratching our heads as far as trying to come up with topics that are meaningful topics to give to the people so that we can wake you up out of your slumber. And that seems to be one of the hardest things for a person who consider themselves to be conscious. That's one of the hardest tasks that you could ever try to perform, which is to wake your people up so that they can see what the matrix really looks like and how it operates. So, I jotted some things down as far as what I'm going to discuss, and, we're going to see how it's going to go. Before I get into that, remember, if you're watching this video, whether you like the video or not, either give me a thumbs up or give me a thumbs down. Also remember to hit the bell if you are a subscriber, and if you are not a subscriber, hit that bell and subscribe to my channel. Like I said before, I'm trying to get my views up, not because I am clout chasing, but because I feel like the information that I do put out, the videos that I put out, I feel like they contain pertinent information. I am not the only one that is doing this. There are people that have been doing this longer than I have, and a lot of them do it better than me. But this is one of the ways in which I choose to, lend my contribution to the plight of black people in this country and around the world, as far as us coming up out of the things that we have been subjected to in this country for the past 500 years and around the globe for the past 6,000 years, as it pertains to people of color being dominated by the people in what we call the dominant society. So, we're going to go ahead and get into, that discussion as far as, what I'm going to drop as it pertains to what I have listed on this paper that you see in front of me right now. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is election year versus our own political system. You have a lot of people who are waiting to vote this coming, I think, November, because they want to get Trump out of office. And my gripe with that is this: as it pertains to black people, why would you even give a damn about whether he stays in office or not, versus you starting your own political system up so that you break away from what the dominant society has to offer and you start your own shit up so that you can control how your life would go. You can control your own destiny. You can implement laws that will be based on fairness, justice, versus the opposite of what we've been getting as it pertains to the American political and legal system. We spend so much time trying to convince a racist not to be racist that we miss the bigger picture. A person that is a racist, a person that is able to to control every aspect of your existence is not going to change that. So with you going to plead with them, trying to get them to look at the error of their ways, they don't look at it in that fashion. They don't even consider what they're doing to be an error. The only person that sees it that way are the people who are considered to be under the oppressor's boot heel, and they're gonna react accordingly to how the oppressor is oppressing them, which means that they are not proactive, they become reactive. If you're proactive, that means you're going to do something ahead of time to make sure that those things that are coming down the pipe don't come down the pipe. And if they do come down the pipe, then you are better able to deal with those situations because you prepared for them ahead of time. And that is one of the problems that I have with our people as far as the political system is concerned. We have a lot of intelligent black men and women who understand how politics work. They also understand laws. And I don't see why we should spend any time dealing with these people as far as their political and legal systems are concerned when we have enough intelligent people that can create a system that would be a fair and just system so that we can move away from the dominant society as far as their political and legal arena is concerned and govern ourselves, rule ourselves with laws that are put in place that would adhere to our norms and our values. So that's just one aspect of, how I look at this whole thing as far as, this upcoming election year. We need to have our own political system, so why not start that up? The other thing that I wanted to get into is dealing with protesting. We've had protesting throughout this country as far as, its inception is concerned. And that's by, people from different walks of life and from different races. But here lately, maybe even before the civil rights movement, black people were probably protesting then. But when you think about protesting as it pertains to black people, it usually takes you back to the civil rights movement. And from there, you see the trickle down effect as it works its way from the 60s era all the way up to 2020. And during that time span, we've constantly gone out in the streets with picket signs. We've sat in restaurants. We've laid down in front of certain businesses. Just recently, I saw I guess it would be considered a documentary. It was a series that was dealing with Charlottesville. And we all know the incident that happened in Charlottesville, where you had a group of students at the college where the incident took place as far as that night was concerned. I'm not talking about what took place in the town, but that night they had an incident before the protesting by the neo-Nazis and right-wing people and white nationalists are concerned took place that next day, where you had a group of students. Some were black, some were white. The majority of the ones that I saw were white students and a few people of color, if you will. They locked arms and around the, I think, Jefferson Monument, and you had it looked like about 600 to 800 white males and a few white females that came in with what they call tiki torches, and they surrounded these students. An incident did break out. You had 2 officers that were on the scene that tried to keep the peace, which they pretty much got everything stabilized. But the fact of the matter is that with these protests, and with that protest in particular, what did it solve? And the problem that I have with our people is that we always protest and think that that's going to change. Like I said earlier, we waste time trying to change the mind of a racist, when the mindset that you need to be trying to change is your mindset. You don't keep going to your enemy and begging your enemy to stop doing the things that they're never going to stop doing. Your job is to come up with a plan of action to where you stop them, not by begging them, not by pleading with them, not by going into their political arenas and trying to battle them as far as using their laws to try to get justice for something that you're not going to get justice for. You may win some battles, and I wouldn't even consider those battles, because usually when you win a battle, usually winning those small battles lets you win the war. Well, we've been in this war for 500 plus years, and every battle that we thought we won was not a win. We actually lost, and we've been driven further back, and back and back and back to the point where it's like we're at a standstill. But yet we still keep trying to use the same methods to get justice, to get some equality within this country as it pertains to the so-called dominant society. So when I looked at this documentary that was dealing with what happened in Charlottesville, you know, it was almost comical. You know, they showed two black males, as far as from what I saw, because I think it's like a series. I can't remember if the episode that I saw was the first episode or the second, third. I don't know, but there were two black males that they interviewed, and you know, I'm listening to them talk, and I'm like, it was comical, because the methods that you're using are not going to work. And then on top of that, you know, these brothers sound like they were scared as hell. And if you're that terrified, why are you even out there in the first place? And to go along with that, when are you going to stop talking and start building? And then when you build whatever it is that you choose to build that is going to benefit you, your family, and your people, then when anyone comes up to challenge that, to destroy that, you don't argue with them. You don't talk with them. You lay them dead at your feet when they choose to bring violence and destruction to what you and your people have built that was designed to sustain you, your families, your people, your culture, and your legacy. That is the proper response to dealing with the racist, prejudice, and discriminatory views and acts of what is called the dominant society in this country and around the world as it pertains to people of color, especially black people. So that brings me to my next topic, which is inclusion versus our own society. And I kind of, you know, hinted, you know, to that as far as what I just talked about with the protesting versus separation. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as well as others, have taught us that there is no change in these people. Although you do have some Caucasians that do not think in that manner. And here's the dilemma behind that. There are some people of color that think just like them. So you just can't say that we're just going to be dealing with Caucasians that think that way, because a lot of them don't think that way. And that is evident from the some of the demonstrations that have been going on here lately, as well as some things that you've seen in you know, historical documentation. We want to be included into the dominant society. Is that understandable? Yes, because we're living in a country that is considered to be a melting pot. And within that melting pot, you're going to have people from different walks of life that are going to contribute to the development of this country. And they have contributed to the development of this country. Even though people say that this is a white society, it was not built by white society. The country was built by black people, brown people, yellow people. The bulk of what this country stands for, as far as in its essence, It was built by people of color, not by white people. White people used people of color to build a society for themselves. And then they set up situations and circumstances to where they could control the masses of people, including their own, so that they can keep power to themselves and for themselves, whether they were considered to be the elitist or they were considered to be poor white trash. Either way it went, when it came to, how can I say it, freedom in this country, they would receive more of the perks than people of color, no matter whether they were well-to-do Caucasians or they were poor white people. They still had a chance to rise in the ranks, no matter if they were mentally, educationally, as well as physically able to obtain those levels of prestige. They were allowed to do that based off of the color of their skin alone. With people of color, you were stopped in your tracks, not unless you could blend in with the dominant society. And that always came down to your physical attributes, meaning not necessarily coming from an athletic point of view, but just dealing with the fact that you can blend in with them because your phenotype allowed you to blend in with them, because you had more Caucasian features stood out versus, you know, whatever race you came from that happened to be a race of color versus those particular features. But we've always wanted to be included in the dominant society because we contributed to that society. So we feel like we should enjoy some of the perks from what we helped build in this country, which has not been the case, not without a fight anyway. So instead of always trying to break down those doors and not burn those bridges, why don't we do something different? Like, when we walk across those bridges, burn them. And the reason why I say burn them is because of this. And before I give my answer to that, you know, people, you've heard the saying that, you know, don't burn your bridges, because once you burn that bridge, you won't be able to walk back across it. I heard Michi X say something about that one time. And she was like, fuck it, I'm going to burn them bridges. And the reason why she says she's going to burn them bridges, because she's like, if I burn the bridge, I can always build another fucking bridge and walk back across the same area that I just came from. So let's burn those bridges, meaning let's disconnect ourselves from these people as far as trying to be included with their society and build our own shit. As a child or a teenager, if you're living with your parents, there's going to come a point in time where you're going to be at odds with each other, especially when it's dealing with rules. And your parents, I know in the black community, you know, I heard it plenty of times. I've been kicked out the house twice. You know, my parents are like, if you don't like my fucking rules, you can get your black ass out. And that's basically what you have to do. Why? Because they built that. They pay the bills. They make up the rules. And with those rules, you have to abide by those rules. And when you break those rules, they have the right to do whatever they see fit as far as reestablishing control in their home. Now, you can do one or two things. You can either submit to that and be unhappy, or you can get the fuck out, which is what a lot of us did. We got jobs, we got out, and we got our own. And when we got our own, guess what? We didn't have to deal with whatever our parents said as far as what went inside the home, as far as what they built. Because now we got our own. We got our own rules. We are now the kings and the queens of that domain. We are now the rulers of that domain. We've established our governmental rulership as it pertains to our home. So now when people come to your house, they have to abide by your rules. And if they don't abide by your rules, you kick them the fuck out. You're only going to give them freedom as far as what you deem they should have. And what I mean by that is this: anytime you're entertaining someone in your home, they're probably going to be regulated, or not regulated, but they're going to be assigned, even though it may not be mentioned. But it's something that is looked at as, I know that there are certain things that are off limits, but you're going to be assigned to, certain areas, whether your entertainer is going to say that or not. Usually you have access to wherever you're being entertained at in the house: the kitchen, and the bathroom. Everything else, as far as the living room, I mean, not living room, but the bedrooms or any other rooms that no one is going to be in, you're pretty much off limits to that. So your how could I say it? You're going to be limited to a certain area in the house, which means, this is going to be the place where you are allowed to roam without there being any uproar about it. And you have to abide by that. And if you don't, then they have the right to kick you out. And if you choose not to leave, they have the right to call the authorities on you and get you out by any means necessary, whether they drag you out or you go out by your own ability. And that is the way that we need to look at this. Stop trying to include yourself into a society that does not want you and has never wanted you. The ones of us that they brought over here, they brought us over here for a reason. Those of our people that were already over here, they enslaved those people, as well as the ones that they brought over here to do what? Build a society for them. And after they got that society built, they no longer had any use for us. And they started doing things to where they could alleviate that problem by setting up these systems that would keep us out of these systems that they built that were designed to take them to great heights. And those systems were designed to keep us out of those systems so that we couldn't rise to those same heights. So instead of trying to fight and plead and beg and protest your way into a house that does not want you, why not go and build your own house? That way you could come up with your own rules, your own laws. And I'm just basically reiterating the things that I've already mentioned. But that is a conversation that needs to be rehashed over and over and over until we get it, because right now we do not get it. Police reform, which is something else that our people and others are talking about, that if you reform the police department, that it will stop a lot of the things that are going on. My answer to that is no, it will not. It doesn't matter what you do to an individual. That is not going to change their mindset. And then when you couple in the fact of when you're in a situation where emotions are heightened, you don't know what the hell is going to pop off. You can have all the damn training that you could possibly have. At that moment in time, you don't know what your response is going to be, because you don't know how the other person is going to respond. So if you're dealing with someone who has a racist mentality, it doesn't matter how much training you've given to them until they decide that that's not the route that they want to take. They're not going to change. It is up to the individual to change themselves. You can get all the classes that you want to get. That's just like trying to take a person off the street that knows nothing about basketball and putting them on the court. You can teach them the fundamentals and then put them on the court. That doesn't make them a basketball player. They can probably dribble. They can probably pass. They can probably shoot a couple of baskets, but they don't have a understanding of how the game is played. Why? because it's just not in them. That's not an attribute that they have to pick up that basketball and get involved in that sport to the point where it becomes second nature to them. It's just like walking. You never forget how to do it, and you just walk so gracefully, meaning that they play gracefully. When you see them on the court, only thing you're seeing is poetry in motion. That's not going to happen with people who don't have that in them on a mental level as well as on a genetic level. So when you're looking at these people who are considered to be racist and whatnot, if they can't change how the fuck they feel, what makes you think you're going to change how they feel and how they act? You cannot do that. You can come up with all of the policies and reforms that you want to come up with. That's not going to change these people. They'll still do something crazy. They may think about the shit after they've done it, but in the heat of the moment, you don't know what you're going to do. And so with police reform versus policing ourselves, that's an issue that our people are not looking at. You're still trying to go with the inclusion rule, and you cannot do that. You have to police yourself. We have people who have been in police departments, been in the military. You're seeing the spark of gun clubs, black gun clubs that are rising throughout this nation. So we have the ability, we have the manpower and woman power to police ourselves. And the benefit to that is that the majority of us come from those communities that they consider to be impoverished, or just coming from those communities where we're black people. We're around black people. We pretty much know how we think, how we act, and how we do things, to the point where when we go up into a situation like that, we can de-escalate the situation because we understand the mentality, versus someone who is not from that community and does not understand the mentality. There is a way to de-escalate any situation. One of those ways, which is the best way, is to walk the fuck away. You don't have to argue. You don't have to respond. Just leave. Now, if the person chooses to follow you and provoke you and then attack you, then that gives you the right to bust their ass or take their life. But the best solution for de-escalating a situation is to just walk away. And then if you return to that situation, then you can return to that situation with a calmer mind, where your emotions are not going to get the best of you, to where now you're thinking on a logical and rational level. And hopefully the individual that you talk to is doing the same as well, and you can get some things done. But policing ourselves is not a hard task. It is not a big task, because like I said, we have people in our community that can do the job and get the job done and come up with, ways in which to interact with our people, to the point where instead of us looking at those people that we now have police in our community as being the enemy, we can look at those people that are policing our community as being family, friends, and we know that they're there for our best interest. So another thing that I wanted to get into, which is two more things, mainstream media versus pro-black media and journalism. And this one is going to be kind of short. Mainstream media can put out some shit that is very informative, but they can also put out things that are based on lies, manipulation, social engineering based on the things that they put out, to where they'll put some things out and they'll play it over and over and over, to where they condition you to believe that what they're putting out is the gospel, versus pro-black media and journalism. Now, that's not to say that we can't have the same thing in that arena as far as black media, black journalism is concerned, because we can. And in some cases, we have had some of our people to do some things like that, which we call them sellouts. And that's going to be, my last topic that I bring up. But 9 times out of 10, when you have people like myself, people like Michi X, Professor Griff, Vicky Dillard, who else? Blue Pill, Red Pill. You got the brother that's got Black Magic TV, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Willie D is another one, which he's no longer on YouTube. I think he has a podcast that he does on his website. But that's just to name a few people that try to keep our people informed of things that are going on in this country and throughout the world as it pertains to black people. Those media outlets need support. They need support because they're out here doing this work for you and for me. They're trying to keep us in the know as far as what the media is not going to tell you. They're trying to wake us up out of the matrix by giving you information, whether it's dealing with politics, whether it's on a social level, economic level, academic level, as it pertains to school, medical and scientific level. They're trying to give you another side of the coin so that at the end of the day, as the most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, is that when you're dealing with people, if you take a clean glass of water and you put it up beside a dirty glass of water, you're giving the people an option to where they're going to look at both glasses. They're going to analyze both glasses, and they're going to see, well, which glass should I take? And if I take that particular glass, which one is going to benefit me the most, or which one is going to cause me the most harm? And 9 times out of 10, most people, if they're in their right mind, they're going to pick the clean glass of water. Well, that's the option that we are proposing to our people as it pertains to mainstream media versus pro-black media and journalism. We're giving you those two glasses. It is up to you to decide on which one you want to take. We already know that these people lie. They put out propaganda and they try to steer the narrative to the point where they keep you dumb, deaf, and blind. And while they're keeping you dumb, deaf, and blind, they're constantly working behind the scenes to come up with new systems of entrapment, to come up with new systems of rulership, to come up with new laws to keep you disenfranchised, to keep you as a second-class citizen, to keep you looking at something that is not a fact, that you are, as far as a black person is concerned, you are the most downtrodden people on the face of the planet. None of those things are true. And that's why when it comes to mainstream media versus pro-black media and journalism, if that individual or individuals are true to the nature in which they're giving you the information that they're giving you, that information is going to take you from here, and it'll cause you to rise in levels. You go up and up and up and up and up and up and up until you get to the point where that goal and their goal is to get you to return back to your original self, which is to become God-like and begin to think like the God that you are. And when I use the term God, I'm using the term as it pertains to us as a people, and it's referring to the black man and the black woman. I don't want to use the term goddess because the black woman is a god as well as the black man being a god. But that is the ultimate goal from those pro-black people who are awake. They're not out to get your money. They're not out to use and abuse you. They simply want you to wake up. And even if they ask you for donations and whatnot, there is nothing wrong with that. We should support these people and their media outlets if they are indeed doing the work and if they are indeed putting things into motion that will benefit the black community as a whole. Why not support them? We give money to this fucking government every time you get paid, every time you shop. They got money coming out of our checks for shit that we can't even fucking pronounce because they got these acronyms set up to where you don't even know what the fuck that is. You don't know how it works, what it does. Your tax money goes towards countries like Israel every year. They get, I think, over $1 million every year from the United States government alone, but that's taxpayer money. But yet you can't say anything against anyone who is of so-called Jewish descent and them not take it as, how can I say it, good criticism. They look at everything that someone says about them as being bad criticism, and it's just a straight up lie. But yet your tax money goes towards that country, but yet you live in a country that won't even give you reparations, but yet they take money from you every year, every day, every minute, every hour, and we're still considered to be second-class citizens. And if we say the wrong thing, whether it's dealing with the Jewish community or not, as it pertains to the dominant society, and I shouldn't say if we say the wrong things, I should say if we say the right things that they think are the wrong things that they don't agree with, they want to try to stop you from making money. They want to snatch things away from you. They'll do everything in their power to try to disenfranchise you and make you into a second-class citizen, to the point where it's hard for you to maintain what you've built, and it's also hard for you to even try to build up to whatever heights that you think you can climb, as far as from a monetary point of view. So this is the reason why a lot of these pro-black journalists and media outlets are doing the things that they're doing, because they know that if we continue to believe the hype that these people put out, that we're gonna forever stay in the dark. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is sellouts versus the movement. You have a lot of our people that have sold out. A lot of people think, as of lately, Nick Cannon sold out. Some people think that Serena Williams sold out. The list can go on and on and on and on. There is a book called the what is it called? But it was a book that I ended up purchasing, that Professor Griff had put out. I think it's called a Certified Directory of Uncle Toms and Coons, or something of that nature. But I have the book. But this book lists all of the people that have sold us out that were black people, you know, in our community, versus the movement that has permeated in this country for the past 500 years, as far as black people trying to get free or get freedom and move away from the dominant society, as it pertains to, you know, our plight in this country. And I don't want to, you know, necessarily deal with the sellouts. Let's just deal with the movement. There is a movement that is going on, and it's been going on, but now it's getting to the point where it is climbing. I wouldn't say that it is at its tipping point, but it's getting there. And there are those of us who are in this movement. We're not trying to latch on to the dominant society. We're trying to separate. We're trying to buy land. And on that land, we want to establish a society of our own. And I'm not talking about a society that's just dealing with having land and just putting some damn houses on it. No, I'm talking about a real society where not only do we have land and we have homes, we have banking systems, we have a sound economic system, we have a sound political system, we have a sound academic educational system. Everything that it takes to run, operate a society, that is what we will have on that land, even down to entertainment. We have to begin to move in that direction, and we have to do as Noah did when the flood came. We have to close those doors. And the reason why we have to close those doors and cut off those avenues is because they're going to be people from the dominant society that are going to want a piece of the pie, especially if they see that our society is flourishing and surpassing their society on an economic level, an academic level, a scientific level. They're going to want a piece of that. And if you ever let them come in and just get a peek of what you're doing and how you're doing it, sooner or later, they're going to take it over, and they're going to take it, and you're going to be right back where you started from, back in slavery. And this time you may never get out. But at the same time, the only way that they can infiltrate things of that nature is by using a sellout, is by taking someone from our community and using them to use us so that they can get access to us as a people and the things that we put into play. So we have to have use the thinking of Noah at that particular time, when the Most High told Noah, look, I'm getting ready to kill every damn thing except for you and your family and those that choose to come with you. So he began to build this boat, this ark. And when the waters, or when the rain started coming, the people laughed and they joked. Even before then, while he was building it, they were mocking him. Well, that's what we have to do now. We have to begin to build, but then we begin to set up those doors to where we close them off. We close off the people from the dominant society, and we close off those people from our community that will be willing to help them get access to whatever it is that we're building. We close them off to the point where they don't have access. They don't know what we're doing, how we're thinking, how we're moving, what we're building, and how it would benefit us. And when you move in that manner, that's why I can always tell people, when it comes to protesting, just imagine what you would do to the mindset of the dominant society if you didn't go out in the street when something happened in our community, no matter how horrific it was. You didn't post anything on social media. You didn't do any interviews. You don't go out into the streets and protest. You don't show your anger. You don't show your hand. That doesn't mean that you're not doing anything. That means you're strategizing and you're planning. They don't know when you're going to enact whatever it is that you're planning or do whatever it is that you're planning. They just know that you're planning something. But what is the beauty of that? You cannot plan for something that you don't know how to plan for, because you don't know what it is. See, when we go out there in those streets and we protest and do the things that we do, they already plan for that. They've been planning for shit like that, man, damn near 30, 40, 50 years. They already know what you're going to do when you go out there in those streets. And since they know that, if you've noticed, the police departments have gotten more advanced to the point where you can't tell them from the fucking military and the military from the goddamn police, because they all look the same. Why? They have the same type of gear. They use pretty much the same type of weapons, same type of vehicles. They may be slightly different, but it's pretty much the same. They've been planning for that, but they can't plan for some shit that they can't see. And that's where you get the upper hand at. Stop showing your fucking hand all the time. And the reason why we show our goddamn hand all the time is because we got sellouts that always want to turn around and be like, okay, we need to go out here and do this shit. We need to go out here and do that. I'm not saying that we don't need to step out sometimes, but let's switch it up. Let's do it different. Let's do something that is totally different from what we've been doing in this country for the past 500 years. And on that note, you know, I'm pretty much done. But one thing I do want to show you guys is this. And it's nothing new. I've had this book since the 90s. It's called The 48 Laws of Power by this dude by the name of Robert Greene. I've said this before. A lot of people may not agree with me. This book shows you how to be a devil. And that's not so much a bad thing. It is a book that shows you how to manipulate people. And then it shows you the reversal to it. It breaks shit down to the point where you have these laws. And each law has subcategories to it, to where It teaches you, it shows you what to do, how to do it, how to manipulate shit, and what you need to do just in case someone finds out what you're trying to do, what your motive is. This book is how a lot of white people who are advanced thinkers, this is how they think. And this is why and how they are able to keep us in the condition that we are in, and that's based off of shit like this. We, on the other hand, don't do shit like that. We ride off of emotions instead of logical, rational thinking. One of the laws, matter of fact, the first law in the book is called never outshine the master. Another law in the book is, or law number 2 is, never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Law number 3, conceal your intentions. Law number 3 is a law that needs to be reiterated in the black community until we get free. Because we always reveal shit. We always let people know what we're doing. Some people may look at what I'm saying now as, you know, you're giving out too much information. No, I'm not. Because even with the building of a society and the things that go along with building a society, you don't know how those things are going to be implemented as far as within that society or as it pertains to people that we consider to be the enemy. So with that being said, you don't know how I'm going to operate. That's just like, let's say I'm a martial artist, and let's say one of the disciplines that I study is, let's say, boxing. And boxing is a martial art. The average person may think that, okay, well, the only thing he knows how to do is use his hands. That doesn't mean that that's the only thing that I'm going to use to defeat my enemy. It's just a style of fighting that I chose to learn. But I'm going to take that style of fighting to the next level and make it work for me. I'm going to adapt that style to whatever enemy that I need to fight based on how that enemy always attacks me. So I'm not going to be like your regular boxer in the fucking ring. Because there's not going to be a referee and there are not going to be any fucking rules. So just because you know what style I have, you don't know how I'm going to use the fucking style. And that's where the question mark comes in at. That's what an individual cannot prepare for. Not until they get engaged in that. And then the individual that is engaged within that may be using that style versus the person who doesn't know what style it is because you switched it up to the point where it doesn't look like it did in its original inception. They won't know how to defend against that. Now, they may leave after they are defeated and then go back and retrace what happened in that fight so that they can come up with a plan of attack to defeat that. But in that particular moment, they're not going to know how to defeat it. Why? Because it's something new to them. They never faced that before. So law number 3, conceal your intentions. That's one that we need to reiterate until we get free. But there are 48 laws that are within this book. If you don't have this book, I suggest that you pick one up because it will allow you to look into the thinking of your oppressor. If you already have the book, I suggest you pick it back up because that's what I did. And another book that you need to get, which there are probably plenty out there. This is one of the most famous books that are out there as far as strategies and manipulation is concerned. Another book that is dealing with strategies as far as war that can also be applied in the economic arena, political arena, academic arena, which is The Art of War by Sun Tzu. these are 2 books that I have. I have plenty of other books, but we're not going to get into that. But I suggest that if you don't have these books, you pick them up and begin to refamiliarize yourself. Or if you've never read these books, pick them up and begin to learn the strategies that are in these books that will help you to achieve great heights. And I'm going to end on this note. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that when you're dealing with people of the dominant society, he said to study them, and study them with a keen eye. Why? Because you can learn something most important. You can say that they are the weakest people on the planet from a genetic point of view. Whether you want to subscribe to that or not, that is up to you. But if that is the case, and even when we look at it from that point of view, I've heard a lot of people say that that also has an effect on their mental, spiritual, and intellectual capabilities. Well, if that is the case, then how was someone of that nature able to come up and master those who are supposed to be the dominant based off of their genetic makeup? And the reason why is because of this. You can take a person who is genetically gifted. Let's say they can play any sport that they get involved in, versus someone who has to work at it. The person who puts up the best work ethic, regardless of whether they are genetically gifted to do that endeavor, is going to always lose. Why? Because this person 9 times out of 10 won't train, won't dedicate themselves to a specific idea and work towards improving themselves on that idea, versus the individual that knows I am at a disadvantage, but I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep training. I'm going to keep practicing. I'm going to keep thinking. I'm going to keep trying to reinvent myself and take myself to the next level, so that when I do encounter the person who is genetically gifted, it won't seem like I am at a disadvantage. Why? Because I've been preparing for this shit my whole life, versus the individual who is genetically gifted that probably won't even fucking train, or may train 1 or 2 times out of the month, or once out of the damn week, and think that because they are genetically inclined to do certain things and do them well, that they will outlast and defeat the individual who may be at a disadvantage, but they're training every fucking day. That's how they were able to take over. That's how they were able to do the things that they did. They already knew they were at a disadvantage, so they capitalized on that. That's why come you're always seeing them study shit. The wise people from the dominant society, they're always constantly studying. They're always trying to figure out, well, if this does that, how can I make it do this? How can I conceal it from these individuals and then put the shit in plain sight and they still don't see it? Those are the things that we need to pay attention to. And that's why whenever they do things, I study them. 9 times out of 10, I'll sit back and I don't say shit. I just sit back, I study, and then I go to the fucking table, to what I call my war room, my think tank, as far as the people that I deal with. And we sit down and we strategize, and we come up with protocols and plans to do what we need to do, as well as when they come for us, and we know that they're coming, they're going to come. It's not a matter of if, it's only when. We will be able to handle whatever situation that they bring, whether it's on a physical level, an academic level, a political level, an intellectual level. We will be able to survive in that arena and come out victorious. And on that note, pretty much done. Hope you guys pay attention to what I dropped in this video, and take heed to it. Study what I've stated, and then get out and let's go to work, man. Get your temple right. Train, exercise, lift some fucking weights, eat properly, get your health right, put the right food and fuel in your body, because without this and what sits in your skull, you will not be able to achieve the things that I've just dropped in this video. we will still be in the same predicament that we have been in for 500 years. And now the universe is showing you that the changing of the guard is at hand. But here's the thing behind that. If we win, then what? If we're not working to build the society now while we're fighting this war, then what happens after we win the war? Everything is destroyed and there's nothing built. And we're not working towards building those things. So we got to change the way that we think. We got to change directions. And we got to move properly. We got to become proactive instead of reactive. And on that note, and I'm not going to use my left hand this time, Lee, if you watch this video, I salute you. Peace. Don't forget to hit the bell. Don't forget to subscribe. Do not forget to share this, and support your own, because that's the only way that we're going to get to where we need to get to. Support your own. Come back home to your own. Help build us up, and let's move forward, push forward. And anything that gets in our way, we either run through it, we run around it, we run under it, we run over it. But whatever route we choose to take, we got to make sure that we go from point A to point B by any means necessary to achieve freedom, because that is the goal. That is the foundation for everything that we are doing as a people, is complete and total freedom. So until the next video, assalamu alaikum, hotep, ashe, shalom, free the land, free the land. Power to all the people. Black power. Love you guys. Love you guys. Love you guys. Stay black. Peace.